I guess I'll get started. It's a really short presentation this time, but I do have new data from April. So I'm pretty excited about seeing some of that. So let me get started. So this is the new data for April. Most of it is on the $100,000 to $200,000 mark, because that's where investors are mainly looking. I mean, I know, Nick, you're under the $100,000 mark sometimes, but
way under, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a snob, so mine are in that mark. So showings, very pleasant surprise that showings in the last week of April, first week of May, back up. I put a comparison of last year here, and you can see, I mean, it's back up to pre-COVID levels, and it's higher than it was last year. So people are still going out. This is for purchasing homes. So people are still going out. People are still looking at houses. That has not really slowed down as much as you might think it would have. Same thing with rental showings. Really big jump last week from the week before, and higher than last year. So people who want to move are still moving. They're not letting COVID stop them. New listings is something that is decreasing though. So you can see, I put April of 2019 here for a reference point. We are quite a bit lower than April of last year. We're supposed to be on an upward trend right now. You're supposed to have more listings in the spring, and we don't. We're going downhill. So sellers are not listing their homes as much. Obviously, I think with COVID, we all know the reasons why that might be, but we'll talk about that later. Same thing with closings. You see an uptick in March here, and I think that's because those are all the homes that were already under contract when COVID hit, or when it hit us in San Antonio. So, every closing I had in March was put under contract, in February or early March. So that continued, that kind of had a typical March, but then we just have a drastic decline, showing that, there just aren't as many sales happening. Sales price, though, still staying really strong. I went ahead and used the whole price range for San Antonio here, so we could see a really, market trend. But yeah, this is over 3 years, and, you're still going up here as expected. And then days on market is the sort of the last metric we can use to kind of evaluate how healthy this market is. You see, it should be declining from, winter to spring and summer, and then back up. And that's kind of what we're doing. So we're a little bit longer days on market than last year, but I mean, 36 days on market is still really, really low. That's, from listing to sold. So that's still an incredible number. And so these insights, I mean, this is what my takeaways from this data are. Data is there, you can make your own conclusions, and you should. These are just kind of my, anecdotally, and just being kind of boots on the ground. This is kind of how I am interpreting it. You have less inventory because sellers don't want people in their house. Sellers don't want to have a bunch of strangers coming to do showings, bringing them, coronavirus. And so they're holding on. I don't think there are many people who are just deciding not to ever sell their homes. I think that people are hoping that it'll be over soon and then they can list. So I would imagine that we'll probably get like this dramatic upswing once it's a little bit safer. But right now, sellers aren't listing, they're afraid. So, you saw the charts, you've got the showings still going up just to normal. So you have just as many people looking to buy as you would have had, but then you have fewer sellers listing. So it's taken, you know, what really was a hot seller's market already and almost made it worse. And to me, this is a really important piece of data to know, because a lot of people assume that the prices are down already. I mean, I have people texting me saying, is it a good time to buy right now because of COVID, or prices dropping? Can I get a deal? I'm like, no, not really, not according to the data. So I read an article, I wish I had saved it, but it said that about 60% of buyers expect a lower price right now because of COVID. That this is from buyers agents that they surveyed, that 60% of their customers were thinking they should get a discount. And then they also surveyed listing agents, and they said 70% of sellers were not willing to decrease the price. So you have buyers that kind of are expecting a lower price, but that's not what is really happening right now. And you can see why. There's only 2 months of supply in the market right now. You know, anything under 6 is considered a seller's market. 2 is just really, really low. It should be around 6 for a balanced normal market. Now that 2 is in the $100,000 to $200,000 range, like we were talking about before. I mean, this is a competitive range. This is starter homes and rental homes, investors. So that's the most in-demand properties are in this range. If we expand that, it's 3.2 across all price range in San Antonio. If you look at the over $300,000, it goes up to 5.4, I think. And so, you know, the luxury market, yeah, is slowing down a bit, but that actually predates COVID. That was already happening somewhat. You know, just another metric to show demand, mortgage applications for new purchases rose by 12% last week. That's across the whole nation. That's not just Texas. You know, so that even takes into account New York and the West Coast and these places that have really slowed down. So that's a pretty strong number. And like we talked about, the days on market is still, you know, still falling, is still really low. And so basically I'm looking at this going, there's still a lot of competition. The prices are not really decreasing. You know, a good listing agent is not going to let their client drop the price very much if they're looking at this data and saying people are still buying, it's still strong, people are still doing showings. Now there is still fear in the market, and you can find sellers who are afraid. I would say probably a bigger opportunity for investors right now is wholesaling, because you have a lot of people. I actually just closed on a wholesale deal today, and it was just an older lady who did not want to list her home on the market. She was like, I just want it to be done. I'm willing to take less. I just want it easy. You know, I've already had to move during COVID, and I don't want to have to deal with a bunch of people. And, you know, so she just took a lower price for her home so she didn't have to list it. And so you might come across some of those. That might be a good option for investors. But if you're looking at a seller that's actually listed their home, it's probably not right to, or, you know, not correct to assume that you can offer a lower price right now. That can change, but at this moment, that's not what we're seeing in the market. Do you guys have any questions about anything I said, or do you want to look at any of the charts again, or?
I don't know if I have any questions. You know, I think it's interesting that the prices are not going down, but I guess I mean, the numbers are the numbers, so that's what's happening. I think, you know, there's going to be some opportunity on the investment side for sure. So just waiting for that to turn around a little more than it has so far.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe mailers or some kind of ads that, you know, say sell your home without having to do showings, or some, you know, kind of hitting that pain point for people. So, you know, they know the benefit you're offering is probably where
it's a good
at.
idea.
And a lot of wholesalers have stopped advertising, as you know. So, there's also that gap in the market left by Open Door and Redfin and all of those larger companies. So definitely some
Right.
opportunities.
You think they're trying to figure out if because it's fewer sellers with more buyers that there'll be competition between the buyers and raise the prices?
I mean, people generally aren't up to the latest data in real estate. It typically takes a few months for people to realize what's happening and adjust their expectations and actions accordingly. So I don't think, a bunch of people are going to be as excited as me about the latest April data coming out and suddenly saying like, wait a minute, I'm going to list higher than I was because now I know people are going to fight over it. I don't think that's going to happen or anything like that. I just think that it's our market in San Antonio, I think is going to stay pretty steady, at least for the near future. I don't see it dipping. That was the biggest question I kept getting from people is kind of investors, salivating over the thought of getting really good deals really easily. And unfortunately, just like everything in life, it is not easy. It's not going to be easy. Not right now.